have a chance to turn two. They got him. Carrying track, wall, and it's gone. Throwing to the end zone, tipped, picked off. Look, they shoot and score on the header.
Thanks so much for joining us for part 1 of the NFL Hall of Fame tier list. We'll come out of the break and head into part 2 with Fringe tier. Those are guys that could go either way, in or out, especially when compared to contemporaries at their position. So we start with an interesting one that if you want to talk about total sack numbers, like we talked about with a couple of earlier guys, especially Khalil Mack, Von Miller, 123.5 career sacks. That's 19th all-time. 1 Super Bowl MVP, very rare for a defensive player. 7-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah, Von Miller, I think this dude, I think he should be up from Fringe tier. I think, like you said, the Super Bowl, 2-time Super Bowl winner, Super Bowl MVP, along with his sack numbers. Yeah, I think Von Miller, a guy that we'll look at as he revolutionized pass rushing in this generation. Yeah, I think this dude should be up from Fringe tier. So I'm in on Von Miller.
I think he will get into. It's just almost kind of difficult to say what other tier do you put him in. Calling him a lock seems like far too much.
Yeah, I think
and he's been kind of stealing money from the Bills. I hate to say it.
Man. Yeah, he has. But to his credit, when he played, they were a whole different team.
True.
The last 2 years, because last year he didn't play the whole season, right?
Yeah, injury early on.
Yeah, I think he had a major injury and he missed the whole season. They struggled after he left. And the year before, when they were in the playoffs, he missed a little bit of time. But when he played, he was a dog. He was something different. He still got it. All
right, now Patrick Peterson. This guy's been around forever. 3-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, 36 career INTs, 12 fumble recoveries, 6 touchdowns. Remember, he used to return kicks and punts a little bit. He could get down with that.
He was an athlete.
Yeah.
Definition of it. I'm in on Patrick Peterson. I think the end of his career has kind of hurt his overall legacy, I guess you could say. But not everybody can be 25, 26, 27 forever. And the fact that he's still around, still on NFL franchises, on rosters, I think that's great. And I think Patrick Peterson's going to be a guy he's going to be in.
I think I'm down on Patrick Peterson just because I know that corner is another difficult position to make it. It's so hard to stand out. You say 36 interceptions. That's great for a career. What if they don't target you enough to accumulate more interceptions? That's where Sauce Gardner already is. Nobody throws his way.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing, but I think overall, I think the media, the people that actually vote to get these guys in, I think they'll see those 36 interceptions. And I believe 36 interceptions has to be almost top 5 in NFL all time. Because I know Charles Woodson, I believe, is the leader. And he is near
Paul Krause, actually.
Is Paul Krause the leader?
The Vikings, yeah.
Yeah, the old
with
school
81
Vikings.
career.
Yes, so 81, and then I'm pretty sure, don't quote me, maybe Charles is a little higher, but 36 is still a lot. And I think the people, when they just see the numbers, when they're looking at the paper, they'll be in, and I'm in on them as well.
Okay. Saquon Barkley. This is going to be a tough one. You're immediately shaking your head. So to date, right, 7,300 total yards. That sounds great. You remember his first year in the NFL, he caught over 90 passes?
He was electric.
Right.
He was different. We thought he was going to be the best running back in the NFL for the next by at least 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's not how things go, man. It's just not how it ended up going. What do you think about Saquon? I think as of now, I don't even think he's close.
I don't think that he's close by any means yet. I do think that it's a great fit with the Eagles on paper. The only issue is the Eagles usually run 3 or 4 deep. They have this big stable of running backs. If Saquon's getting 10, 12 touches a game, then he's not going to produce huge numbers. It doesn't matter how efficient he is. That's just math.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think he'll even have the opportunity, even if it wasn't in Philly at this point of his career, to even do anything to make enough of an impact where later on down the line we could even make a case for him? Because with this running back, it feels like his time is to capitalize on that, just to put himself in position one day to be a Hall of Famer. I think that ship has sailed.
My thought is the incentive-laden contracts for NFL running backs makes this possible because you don't have to pay guys very much money up front.
No,
running backs clearly will be accepting of the smaller deals now.
Yep.
And you can make, say, twice what the average value of the deal is with just incentives if you happen to be one of the best running backs. Therefore, I think Saquon at some point could sign another even cheaper deal than he did with the Eagles and maybe have some huge years.
I could see it. We could see it. I also think I don't know. This business is a dirty business, and when running backs just aren't producing what
You're gone.
You're gone. It's just so hard, but we'll see. I definitely don't disagree with you.
And it's not about the talent. Never
No,
has been, because he has all of the talent in the world.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How about sneaking another tight end in? We haven't had one since Kelsey. George Kittle. Interesting because the stats are never going to blow you away, right?
No.
And it's part of the Shanahan offense. He sometimes plays right tackle as a tight end,
Yeah.
and guess what? He's incredibly good at it.
Yeah, he is. If blocking was for tight ends was a category for Hall of Fame, I think George Kittle is right now. He's probably the best all-around tight end in the NFL. Blocking, passing. I think Sam Laporta is very close.
Yeah, Sam Laporta could get there.
Yeah, he very well could. But right now, I think this George Kittle, I think all around, everything a tight end's asked, he does more than Travis Kelce does.
He does.
With the blocking aspect. But I think he's a guy that belongs in a fringe tier. He's a guy I think we still got to let play out because at this point, I don't know if he's done enough. But I think fringe tier is perfect for George Kittle.
Okay. Does Kittle get in? Thumbs up or thumbs down? I say thumbs down because of all of the amazing tight ends that he has crossed paths with.
Thumbs down.
Okay.
Thumbs down.
Okay. We're out on George Kittle for now. Tyron Smith, formerly of the Cowboys, moved to the Jets this offseason. 5-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowl. Very rare resume.
Yes.
And yet, what do you think?
Well, if you talk to Jerry Jones, he's going to tell you he's a Hall of Famer. I think him playing for the Cowboys is going to help him become a Hall of Famer.
Probably.
I think the fact that the meat of his career and when he was healthy, he was a dominant. He blocked out the sun at left tackle. On Tyron Smith, I'm in.
Okay. I think most of the guys from Dallas, when they had, some of the most unbelievable offensive lines, probably end up getting in eventually. Travis Frederick, had his career not been cut short, could have been a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
And Zach Martin, man. You know what? In fact, I missed Zach Martin, didn't I?
He was. I think he was in the
Yeah, that is entirely my bad. You know what? I'm just realizing that now. We'll go back and sort of retroactively do this here, right? Zach Martin with 9 times All-Pro, 7 times first team, and 9-time Pro Bowl. Dallas is Iron Man, essentially never missing a game there. How do you keep him out?
You can't. He's guards have a unique way of grabbing your attention, and Zach Martin has been a mainstay staple in Dallas for a very long time. Zach Martin still may be behind. Maybe he's still a top 3 guard in the NFL, even currently today. I think that just speaks volumes. The type of player he is. I'm in on Zach Martin.
Yeah, I am also. Thumbs up for Zach Martin. My bad missing him. This is going to be one of my most fun ones in Fringe because it's all about the potential. Josh Allen, the quarterback.
Tanner, you said it right. Potential. That's all the dude is at this point. I think he's in that same boat as Lamar Jackson. But what put Lamar Jackson ahead of Josh Allen is obviously the 2 regular season MVPs.
Of course.
But when you come to playoff performances and crunch time and big moments, Josh Allen has gotten to this conference championship a couple times. He's been very close. He has never been able to get over the hump. I think he has a lot of issues that he has to work on as a quarterback. I think he has it all there. I think Fringe tier is perfect for him because this is a guy that in a 2 to 3 year span could shoot himself up into almost virtual lock because I think everybody wants him to be in that position already. If he puts it together for a season or 2, they're maybe making a Super Bowl. Josh Allen is very interesting, but right now I'm out on him, but he is definitely the biggest question mark in our Fringe tier.
Yeah, I agree. Just a gloss over the numbers. He's only been a second-team All-Pro once, 2 Pro Bowls, and yet 220 total touchdowns in 6 years. Second in quarterback rushing touchdowns all time, only to Cam Newton.
Yes, very underrated aspect of his game, his feet. He's been the main rushing attack for the Buffalo Bills for the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, and it works. Thankfully, it looks like James Cook is catching on there, but Josh Allen does absolutely everything, and I think he is becoming one of the most talented of all time. Talent doesn't mean production.
Talent does not mean anything when it comes down to the day except for potential, and I think you're right. The dude is a freak, man. The dude
You're not
is a
supposed to
freak.
look like that, right?
No, you're not. You're not supposed to be able to throw a ball that far. You're not supposed to be able to run as fast as you. Dude is a freak, man. He is. But I just think he's gonna fall under like a Phillip Rivers, where like he was a great quarterback, but even in his conference, he was the third best, fourth best. And Josh Allen's competing with a lot of quarterbacks in the AFC. Because one guy's not even on this list, and I'm not gonna necessarily say he should be on the list. Joe Burrow. But the problem with Joe Burrow is, because I think he could almost be in the fringe tier, but I think the problem with Joe Burrow is just he's missed so many seasons already. He's, played half of his season that he's been in the NFL. He's been hurt for the other half. But when he's on and he's playing, I think he showed the world the level of difference maker he is. He's a difference maker. He's absolutely electric, and I think him and Josh Allen are both in that fringe category. That's just my personal opinion.
That's a good point. I hear you. I absolutely think Josh Allen will get in because of his massive talent, a skill set that no one else has. I am going thumbs up on Josh Allen. He will eventually be a Hall of Fame QB, but he's got to last a while.
All right, I'm going to go thumbs down.
Okay. I hear you, and the turnover rate is problematic.
It is very.
Okay. How about Jalen Ramsey? Guy that's now moved teams a couple of times, won one Super Bowl with the Rams, 3-time All-Pro, only 22 career interceptions. This is what I'm talking about. He has locked people down for so many years. Nobody throws Jalen Ramsey's way still to this day.
Exactly. I think he had the type of impact during his height of his career that people used to say he might be the best cover corner since Deion. That was something that was going on, and I think that holds weight. I think, like you said, when you alluded to passing, like the attempts to you and your attempts to get an interception, is lower. He doesn't have the numbers like you say, but 97 pass breakups.
That's a ton.
That's a ton, and that's just as important almost as interceptions. Jalen Ramsey, man, he was special. He's special. I'm in on Jalen Ramsey.
Me too. One thing I don't even mention, he used to hit people so hard.
Oh.
And he was so scary coming out of Florida State.
He was, but he lived up to the billing.
He
Jacksonville, he had an impact in Jacksonville that you haven't seen since maybe Fred Taylor.
Yeah. We move to the bottom of the fringe tier, and this is just in a random order because I don't think this guy belongs at the bottom of anything, especially in the trenches. Cameron Jordan with the Saints, man. How many D linemen rack up 117 and a half sacks?
Not very many. And this is another dude when we talk about can play and can rush the passer and can play in the run game. Cameron Jordan, absolutely fantastic. Fringe tier may be a little low for him, man.
Yeah, the more I say it and I look at the numbers, he's knocked down 61 passes at the line of scrimmage. That's elite.
That is
NFL All-Decade team.
Yes.
3-time AP All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah, I like you said, All-Decade team. I think that's huge. That's something, especially in this fringe category, he has that none of these other guys have.
And I probably didn't put enough of that in throughout the episode, honestly.
And maybe not, because the All-Decade team, there's a lot of players that played in 10 years in the NFL, and to become to separate yourself amongst the group is absolutely impressive. Cameron Jordan is someone who's been a staple in New Orleans for a long time. He just gets the job done. Every single time he's a game wrecker, causes havoc. Yeah, he's a special guy. I'm in on Cam Jordan.
I think he definitely gets in. If I were to move him up, gosh, are we talking about virtual lock for Cam Jordan? Maybe.
Very close. I think if he had a Super Bowl,
right,
I think Cameron Jordan would be almost in the virtual lock.
Yeah, I hear you. That's all we got for the fringe tier. We're going to rapid fire through some of the Hall of Really Good. I want you to stop me when you hear something that really gets under your skin.
Oh, I got one already.
I hope that you do. It's not going to be all focused on stats, but just stop me as soon as you hear something that you can't stand. Makes your skin crawl, all right?
Okay.
Kirk Cousins. Do you need me to stop already?
I'd call him really good, I guess.
And remember, these guys, if you're ending up in the Hall of Really Good, you're not in the Hall of Fame, but you could have been.
Could have been. You had the opportunity.
Yeah, all of these guys had ample opportunity to do so. Brandon Cooks.
No.
You think Brandon Cook's not good enough to even be in the Hall of Really Good? Is that what you think?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think he had a couple good years, like about 7. He had like a 2-3 year span. He's a guy you take the top off the defense, all this thing. I think he I don't remember where he was prior to his time in he went to New England, correct?
New
he won
England.
the Super Bowl versus the Rams.
Yes. Also been in New Orleans.
Yes. That's where he really came onto the scene, was New Orleans.
Yeah, and I believe Drew Brees had not yet retired at the time.
Yeah, him and Drew Brees were a huge connection. I think there's young guys right now that sooner or later, like, they'll push Brandon Cook so far down the list. Like, a guy like a Tank Dell in Houston. I think a guy like Tank Dell is someone like Brandon Cook, like very similar game, but has a higher ceiling. I think Brandon Cooks was a solid receiver, but I don't know, Hall of Really Good. I think... Listen, when a guy's in the NFL for multiple years, like average NFL career is 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So you got to give him credit. You know he's a good player. We understand that. We're not saying he's a bad player, but Hall of Really Good is hard for Brandon Cooks because he kind of just seems average.
The only reason I mentioned it is just because the fact that he has kept his production consistent with also not always great quarterback play, and every place that he's gone has been able to produce the 1,000-yard season, which people like to mention.
Yeah,
but
that's fair. That's a fair point.
But I hear you. Going to keep firing through the Hall of Really Good. Amari Cooper, as long as you don't object to that.
I can't object.
We'll go and gloss over it.
I can't.
Cameron Hayward with the Steelers.
Shoot, I think he's almost in fringe category as well, but I think Hall of Really Good is a good spot for him.
I just compared him to Cameron Jordan, and there's not one single statistical argument that you can make for Cameron Hayward over him. And that was my thought process on that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when it comes to stats, it's kind of what we alluded to earlier. Cameron Hayward plays a lot of 3 technique, a lot of interior, and as you said, the numbers for interior guys are not pretty.
And they never will be.
They never will be.
Cooper Kupp.
Shoot, he's almost in fringe one more year category. Well, Cooper is really good, man.
He was an uncrowned MVP. Can we agree on that?
Yes, we can agree.
The year that the Rams went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that dude was different.
No one could check him that entire season.
No,
I did not see him once get stopped.
Because it didn't happen. You can go look, but you won't find it.
So I would have liked to see him win the MVP there. And then, of course, ever having an MVP puts you way higher on this tier list, let alone having it as a receiver, which, by the way, still never happened.
Yeah.
But a completely uncrowned MVP there. So that's unfortunate. That's why I think he'll be Hall of Really Good.
Kupp still has some gas in the tank. He could still do some things in his career.
He does. There's just the injury concerns of the last 2 seasons.
Fair.
Okay. Moving on to Joey Bosa. Again, stop me if you hear anything that you really object with.
He deserves to be Hall of Really Good. He's not even the best in his house, but
that's what hurts him, right? Is that there's never been a question from the day Nick Bosa stepped onto an NFL field, really.
Yeah, Nick Bosa. I think Nick Bosa. But it's hard to discredit what Joey did his first 4 years on his rookie contract. I believe he won Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. I believe. Don't quote me on that. Joey Bosa had some good years, but yeah, like I said, he's not even the best Bosa in the NFL. He's been a very solid, productive player. He's got his money, got his bag. Can't be mad at him, but never really equated to winning anything. And I think when we're talking about Hall of Really Good, these are guys, even those guys in those categories, those guys take your team to another level.
And there's another guy who hasn't done a whole lot of winning. I think I'm going to hop to a couple of former Vikings. In fact, one current Viking as well. Dalvin Cook. Do you think Dalvin Cook's even done enough to get recognition here?
No.
Okay.
Straight up no.
Okay, I hear you. He was so explosive. There was, for a short time, he was the best one-play threat where you felt like he could, on any given play, take it the distance.
Yes.
You don't think he has any chance of reviving his career right now?
Well, I mean, the fact that he's been on 3 teams in 8 months, 10 months, I mean, that kind of tells you all you need to know. I mean, the Ravens literally had no running back. Their top 3 running backs to start the season all 3 had lower leg season-ending injuries, and this cat still couldn't get on the field. And I don't think like you said, you've seen the flashes, but also another guy, I think his little brother is better than him.
That's kind
James
of a good
Cook
point.
in Buffalo he does a lot more in terms of pass catching. He blocks just the same in the pass game, pass pro, and he can run the ball between the tackles. He's actually taken some pressure off Josh Allen, which I think is huge. And I think that he has those same explosive qualities that his older brother does, but his older brother just wasn't able to put it together long enough. So,
all right. I also don't think Dalvin's probably done enough, and I don't think anybody has mentioned him in the same sentence as Hall of Fame, probably.
No, not yet. No.
One current Viking, that's Harrison Smith, the hitman, safety from Notre Dame, and quite possibly one of the greatest white safeties of our era.
Yes. Definitely of our era.
Yeah, that really narrows it down.
I think might be the only one of our era.
Boy, since Eric Weddle's retired.
Yeah, but since Eric Weddle retired,
it's possible.
There's really
not many.
Yeah, definitely. We'll just go with that.
Yeah, but Harrison Smith.
Harrison Smith, I agree. Harrison Smith, that's a guy who's been doing it for a very long time, since we were little kids. And growing up, playing in Minnesota, we've been able to watch him. And you talk about a Pro Bowler guy, a guy who lays the wood, can play coverage. Like you say, he's a white boy playing DB. Those are rare breeds, bro. You got to give Harrison Smith his credit.
I think the best thing that he does too is nothing about his physical game. It's the mental game.
Every single time.
Just one of the smartest football players that we've seen.
Yep.
But I don't see him ending up anywhere better than Hall of Really Good.
Yeah, I agree.
How about Jared Goff? Or you want to talk about? We'll throw a couple of batch of quarterbacks at you with Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, and Russell Wilson.
See, listen, I'm not the biggest Jared Goff fan, but if you ask me, Jared Goff is higher on the list to me than Matthew Stafford.
Really?
And not saying in terms of maybe being into the Hall of Fame and things like that, but I think his difference-making ability as a field general is disrespected. It's not really recognized as much as it should be. I think you see people try to discredit that he took the Los Angeles Rams to a Super Bowl. They just felt like they couldn't get over the top, and that's fair. But here in Detroit, you see what he's doing. I think Jared Goff, especially out of those three, especially compared to Dak Prescott, he's a different level. He doesn't wow you with athleticism, but his arm, he has a top 5 arm talent in the NFL right now. He can make every throw, throws a beautiful ball. Dak Prescott, man, how many times have we argued about Dak Prescott with one of our former friends, Sherman? We love Sherman here on this podcast.
When I tell you that was noise complaint city.
Oh, my God.
I can't count them.
We're sweating bullets from arguing.
Yeah. Just
because this boy used to think Dak Prescott was a guy. And I'm going to just tell the listeners this. When Sherman denies that Dak Prescott is a good player, when he just can't accept it anymore, you know it's true. You just can't defend Dak Prescott. A lot of empty calories, another empty calorie guy.
No matter how many good players you put around him, no matter how incredible the Cowboys roster is on paper, they don't win, period.
They just don't. I mean, I think Cooper Rush would have beat San Francisco, and I'm just being honest. I mean,
it's brutal, but I see you.
He was 5-0 that season when Dak Prescott was out. I'm just saying. And then Russell Wilson, I mean, it's kind of hard to discredit what that guy's done.
It is.
You don't think he's more than Hall of Good?
Ooh. In terms of all of the career resumes from stats alone, I think that Russell is better than most of the guys I've had previously in these tiers. So my biggest issue with Russell Wilson, the back half, I can't call it quite the back half, but the back few years of his career seems like something everybody's going to want to forget about. And joining the Steelers, I don't think it's going to get better. It is tough, again, to say that his career stats aren't good enough. I do think that they are, and they're obviously better. For example, has he accomplished more than Josh Allen has? Of course.
Yes.
But he's also much older.
Yeah.
So hopefully he has by this point. I think he could surprise people and sneak into the Hall of Fame, truly. But I'm going to keep him in Hall of Really Good because I struggle to find another tier to put him in.
That's a fair point. I think after this year, I think Russell Wilson betting on himself, taking a 1-year deal with the Steelers, playing under Mike Tomlin, is the best quarterback Tomlin's had in a long time.
It is.
I think this is going to be a huge year for Russell Wilson. I think he's going to really kind of snap back into form a little bit, maybe show you his last little juice he has in the tank.
That could elevate him quickly.
Yeah, and I think if he does it somewhere else besides Seattle in those few years, I think that would be huge.
All right.
This next name is my biggest gripe. The last name on our list of Hall of Really Good.
I missed a couple in the middle, but I see you. So you wanted to complain about Brandon Graham.
Oh, my God. Yes, I do. I'm going to stand on the table for Brandon Graham right now once and for all. Brandon Graham is one of the most disrespected players, underrated players in the NFL, Point blank period. This dude make plays every single time the Eagles needed to play. When it came to the Super Bowl, when they beat Tom Brady and them, who made every single play when they needed to play? It wasn't Fletcher Cox. It wasn't the other guys. It was Brandon Graham.
The Super Bowl in which Tom Brady threw for over
500 yards and lost.
Yeah.
And even for throwing over 500 yards, what was the moment everybody remembers? Him getting strip sacked at the end of the game by who? Brandon Graham. Listen, Brandon Graham, I have a personal bias here. Brandon Graham is the reason why I wore number 55 my whole life.
I wanted to get to it.
I love Brandon Graham. I think he's one of the best Michigan defensive end ever in college, like Michigan's college history.
Which is still saying a lot.
It's a historic program. You know how I feel. But I think Michigan kid from Detroit, from the city, he's still playing in the NFL, still going strong. He's one of those main staples, just the way we were talking about Jason Kelsey in Philadelphia. Brandon Graham is that guy. This dude is a Hall of Fame dude. I know he does a lot of things still back in Detroit, off the field, but on terms strictly on the field, this guy was maybe an undersized defensive lineman, but a guy that could play 3-tech, play defensive end, could even play 1 if you needed to. But luckily he didn't have to because he played next to Fletcher Cox.
Of course.
So that always helped. But
who also retired.
Who also retired.
This offseason, and I should have probably put him in with the sort of special cases. Yeah. I think Fletcher Cox is
I think he's in.
He might be. Because he's in that conversation with the best D tackles
of all time.
Sure.
Almost. And he did it for a long time, too. I think one thing we noticed with all these guys, longevity is huge.
Yeah.
That's what makes him really the rare of the 1%. But Brandon Graham, I wish I had all his numbers pulled up here. I would love to see his career numbers and where he ranks, but I have to assume it's a career that has not gotten the recognition it deserves. Brandon Graham, number 55, Detroit, Michigan, University of Michigan, Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champion. Brandon Graham, BG, that's my guy. He ain't locked territory.
Yeah, I was going to say, where do you want to move him to?
But it's kind of hard for me to put him in the one more year category because the dude's about done.
He's not going to get that many more years. He's not going to get
that many years, but golly, I don't know. He's hard to put in one of these other tiers, but Hall of Really Good, I guess. We can go for that, but Brandon Graham, I'm glad his name was mentioned.
Sure. It's sort of an honorable mention category.
Yeah.
You know? We got a couple of more. One current Eagle, in fact, that I'm going to go to right now. And I think you're going to be out on this guy, Darius Slay.
Interesting, Cat. I really like Darius Slay. I remember when the Lions drafted him 3rd round out of Mississippi State. He put himself on the map as one of the best young DBs, and he's still doing it. He's not as good as he used to be. He's fallen off a little bit, but I think Darius Slay was a great pick for the Lions back in the day. I think he ended up becoming one of those franchise guys for the Lions, and I think he's kind of had that same impact almost in Philadelphia. Darius Slay is really good. I like him in the Hall really good. I don't know if he's going to be a gold jacket guy, but
because you compare him to Jalen Ramsey,
even
the career production of Patrick Peterson, and it's not quite there.
It's just not. And then you look at some of the guys that he even used to play against his peers, because his peers now are a different group of his peers when he started. When he started, you still had guys like Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. You still had guys like Aqib Talib. You still
Asante Samuel,
Darrelle Revis.
Some of those guys already in the Hall of Fame. Revis is one.
Exactly. So his peers, like the guys he's been around, it's kind of always been hard to put Darius Slay up there at the top of the list when it comes to his position, but Hall of Really Good is a good spot for Darius.
We're getting close to closing it out here. How about Teron Armstead? If you love offensive line, you might be kind of with me here.
I'm in with you here on Teron Armstead. He's another guy that's done it for a long time. So when you got guys that do this for a long time, especially playing in the trenches, they're just a different type of animal, different type of beast.
I don't understand how he maintains his athleticism this way. I mean, he's one of the freakiest tackles that's ever done it. Do you recall his combine in the 4.6, I believe 4.6, 840 at the time?
That is absolutely unbelievable.
How does that happen? It's a physics equation. It's you're not supposed to be able to do that.
No, you're not. No. And he did it. And one nice thing is that translated onto the field, into his play. And that's why he's able to survive.
I wrote Ezekiel Elliott into this list, and I think I wanted to take out the time in New England. Can we just do from the first trip with the Cowboys and project that as if he were, having his Emmitt Smith run?
I wish we could do it, but we can't. And plus, he's a Buckeye. We got all the highs and lows. We have to cover those all. And I think that Ezekiel Elliott has always been a product of a better offensive line than everyone else.
that's why some of those guys from Dallas that we mentioned.
Yeah, we mentioned
Zach
how
Martin.
many of his teammates on this list?
Well, we had Zach Martin and Tyron Smith. I didn't get Travis Frederick in. We talked a little bit about him off air, but Travis Frederick, a guy that maybe could have been a Hall of Famer had he not been injured.
Exactly.
Well, that's the Hall of Really Good. This is the NFL Hall of Fame tier list. That's Isaiah Fleming. I'm Tanner White. Man, it's been a marathon.
Yes, it has. Tanner, I appreciate you having me out, man. It's good to see you. It's always good to see one of my old guys. Tanner's a great dude. Y'all tap in.
All right, boss, thanks for coming today. So, as Isaiah leaves us today, I just want to say I believe NFL fans are the most rabid and opinionated of any sport. I hope to find that even more evident after this episode comes out. I really have to push the Spotify Q&A feature on this episode. Don't miss out on telling us why we're wrong. Find another guy that I didn't mention who you think will be in the Hall of Fame one day and tell me why. Find a guy I made an argument for and completely dismantle it. This has been episode 8 of White Noise Sports with Tanner White. Thanks for joining me and sticking around for part 2.
Line right at Mills, gonna have a chance to turn 2. They got him. Carrying track, wall, and it's gone. Throwing to the end zone, tipped, picked off. Look, they shoot and score.